What is up, guys? We have a pickup video today. So now I have something stored up in here that is... Oh, wait a minute. This isn't a pickup. I have some ice and scissors. Ah, these scissors are kind of chilly. Chill scissors? Alright guys, so ChillScissors threw out this challenge, question, response, whatever you want to word it. Basically throwing out me and a couple other guys, what has driven us to do game collecting. Why I take it as kind of how we started collecting, why we started collecting, why do we keep collecting. So, if you guys watched the channel before, you guys know that, I've been collecting games since only a couple years now. I've been playing games, however, since I was a little kid, obviously. First system was an NES, and the Sega Genesis, PlayStation, etc. But only wasn't... I at one point had all these systems and I got rid of them to either GameStop. Heck, might even have thrown them away over time, But for a while there, a lot of times I would trade everything into GameStop so that way I could go and get more games, But really what it came down to is a couple years back, a coworker, his uncle, I believe it was his uncle or so, passed away, and basically inherited sound like a storage locker full of games. I mean, like boxed Nintendo 64s, boxed PlayStations, CRTVs, stacks of games. And at the time, I would occasionally watch YouTubers like Metal Jesus Rocks and stuff. But at the time, I was not really into retro gaming. I was playing Call of Duty, Gears of War, newer games and stuff like that. So it really got me interested. He got all this stuff, and I was like, wow, that's really cool, And then I started YouTubing it more, and I've seen that the retro community was very large. It was very popular. So over the time, I'd really wanted a Super Nintendo, and I had recently been playing. Every once in a while, we would on the Wii, how they had all those games that you could download and stuff. I'd be playing like Super Mario World and stuff on that. So I was like, well, I had an NES and a Sega Genesis somewhere at my mom's house. So we, at the time it was going on, I had gone in there and I went to my mom's house, and I remember going up to my old room, and man, we had about a 10-foot long closet, 6 feet high, full of stuff from my childhood, and other random stuff. So we ended up having to dig through all this, and I finally found my Genesis, and I finally found my original Nintendo, and obviously no games and stuff. So over time, I started purchasing more games, and a kind of original concept of this was just to get games that I had from my childhood, to play and stuff like that. And the thought started hitting me, well, why stop there? I mean, as a kid, there were so many games out there that you wanted, but obviously not having a job, not obviously having the funds that you couldn't get all the time. You'd maybe be able to occasionally rent them and stuff like that. So I was like, why stop there? Let's get more games. Let's get more games. So I started getting into eBay at first, and I would just look for lots for decent prices. Pick them up, and then occasionally I'd grab a console here or there. Well, then once I grabbed a new console, obviously I'd have to start getting games for it. So I'd start getting more games. And all this time my wife's kind of looking at me like I'm crazy, like, why are you getting all these games? You're not going to have time to play them. And of course she was right. So what had just happened was I had opened a wormhole. But, as a lot a lot of people don't know this. I don't talk too much about this on the channel, but I'm a recovering alcoholic addict. I was addicted to drugs, I was addicted to drinking and alcohol and stuff like that. And I sobered up almost in September, it'll be 7 years. But even though I've sobered up, you still kind of keep those tendencies. Being addicted to stuff, and some of the stuff I was really addicted to was just hunting video games. And obviously I'd choose this over using or drinking any day, but so it was fun for me, and I liked the kind of like the thrill, the high of hunting for games, getting good prices, and finding some cool stuff. So that was kind of fueling me for a while, and it got so bad at one point that I actually had to take a break from it. But you know, not getting too much into that stuff like that. What drives me to collect games is I like it. Growing up, I really wasn't too into sports. I really liked football and stuff like that. Excuse me. But otherwise, video games has always been my life, my passion, and everything. Ever since I was old enough, my first memories were playing Mario, playing Sonic, going over to my buddy's houses, and we stay up till, we'd be 8 years old, staying up till like 2 in the morning, just playing Super Mario World, Mortal Kombat. Sorry guys. It's not the corona, but that was my first memories, was just video games. Playing with my dad occasionally, playing with my sister, friends coming over to my house to play my Genesis because they had Super Nintendos, and then me going over to their house to play their Super Nintendos because I got tired of my Sega Genesis. And it was just all from childhood stuff like that. So a big part of this is the nostalgic factor of it. Sitting down and playing a game that I haven't picked up in 25 years, instantly remembering everything about that game, relearning the how to play, and I every time I get a game like that, I look at it and it brings me back. And growing up, they would talk about how being an adult was pretty rough. Being a father, a husband, a head of household and stuff. You get caught up in doing all that stuff, you forget what it's like to be a kid. And I think a lot of times that's what I really enjoy about video games, is picking up a game and kind of, it almost sounds cliche and stuff like that, but picking up a game and instantly being brought back to my childhood time when times were simpler, where I wasn't worried about the bill next month. I wasn't worried about paying the mortgage. I wasn't worried about work. Worried about all this adulthood stuff. All I was worried about was what time am I going to get home to play more games, or what game am I going to get next, and stuff like that. So I think that really is what I love about collecting games and stuff. It's just video games were my life, for the longest time, and it's my passion, and I really enjoy it, everything about them. And being able now to be older with a job and collecting for systems that I didn't have as a kid or I never played, owning systems like a Sega Saturn or a Dreamcast, GameCube, the Sega CD, Master System. I didn't even know about the Master System until a couple of years ago. And just stuff like that is just crazy awesome. They've talked, some of my other friends on here have talked about that too, is when people come over to your house. I show off my game room a lot of times to my friends and they've never seen it before, and they'll come down here and they'll look at all these systems and games, and it's usually a mixed response. Either like, wow, you got a lot of games, or oh man, you got Mario Kart on 64, I used to love this game, or oh, you got Castlevania, you have something random like Addams Family. Oh, I remember for some reason Addams Family on Sega Genesis. I used to play that all the time as a kid. And for a minute there, we kind of share that common feel, that brings us back to when we were kids and stuff like that. And yeah, and that's what drives me. That's what I love about video games. And it's like I said, it's my life. It was my life. I was a nerd and stuff like that, and I can go home. I liked reading books, but I was never really into reading them so much. But I did like the RPG games because they had the story elements, the strategy, uh, and then yeah, just the fighting and everything was what I liked about them. And I mean, I could ramble on. I mean, we're already in 10 minutes. I could ramble on about this for, you know, till the cows come home. But it really helped. You know, video games was a big part was because for most of my life I lived out in the country, and until I was 16 years old, I really couldn't do much with friends because, you know, I wasn't able to drive. So, what can you do out in the country? You play video games. But that's just starting to get a little bit off the subject. I mean, besides the nostalgia factor, just the walking in here sometimes and sitting down on my couch in the game room and just looking at all my systems and stuff like that and just going, it's just something cool about owning it. And nowadays with the pricing of stuff like this, it is kind of an investment. If I can get good prices on stuff like this, and then if something should happen down the road, and I need money quick, it would not take long to sell some of this stuff and, you know, and be able to pay stuff. So it's an investment, it's nostalgia, it's stuff to share with my family too and my friends. I know my older boys, they kind of like some of the stuff. They like NBA Jam, and for one day I watched them play Paperboy on NES for a while, and I don't know, man. That's about all I got on the subject. I want to thank you, ChillScissors, for throwing this out there. Off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly who he all gave the challenge out to, but if you're watching, let's go ahead and we'll toss this to see if Jay with the NES Addict, he's got some really cool videos and stuff like that, and see if he gets the chance to talk about the subject. You know, Jay, what drives you to collect games, man? What do you like about collecting games? How did you start and stuff like that? And then just another one, Haytham Gruxton. I'm sorry if I don't say that right. What drives you, man? What got you into collecting games and stuff like that? And then, you know, if I didn't say your name and stuff like that, and you have not done a video like this, go for it, man. And then just message me, comment below if you have, or DM me on Instagram, and, you know, link me, let me know, and I'll check it out, guys. So that's about all I got on that subject. I'm gonna go thaw out my scissors. Stay retro, my friends, and have yourself a great day.